Olaedo, the once slim woman who was now fat, felt defeated by her new life. Her old life, which was perfect, was ruined by just one mistake she had made. The mistake of letting in the wrong man into her life. She loved Anozie so much that she let him dictate to her what she would look like. Even her craving for food never stopped. Instead, it got worse. She still ate as though she hadn't eaten in weeks. One of her meals could feed an average person for 3 days. Olaedo got fed up by her bad eating habits and told herself that enough was enough. She was going to pick herself up and strive to get her old life back. So she decided to go visit her friend, Kosiso, to ask her to put her through on how she usually maintained her figure without growing out of proportion. She started on her way to Kosiso's house, but was very slow because she could barely carry herself. She finally got to Kosiso's hut. Kosiso opened up but felt very uneasy. "Olaedo, what are you doing here?" Kosiso asked her friend nervously. "I came to see my friend now. What kind of question is that? And why are you acting like you just saw a ghost?" Olaedo felt something was wrong with Kosiso for her to act in that manner. Before she could ask her friend what was wrong, Anozie came out of Kosiso's hut. Olaedo was confused. "What is Anozie doing here?" she asked Kosiso. But Anozie responded, "Can't you see how fat and out of shape you are? You expect me to stoop so low and keep associating with you so the villagers can laugh at me? I'm now with your friend Kosiso, and we are soon to get married, so do us a favor and leave here immediately." Olaedo could not believe her ears. Her world came crumbling down. Even if Anozie abandoned her, how could her friend betray her like that? She went home feeling so lonely. She had no friend anymore, so she forced herself to keep going to the farm, as that was her only form of distraction from her problems. On her way back one day, she saw a big celebration happening. She went there to see and realized that it was the wedding ceremony of Kosiso and Anozie. She never knew that the wedding would happen so soon. Olaedo kept going to her farm. So one day, a few years later, while she was planting seed in her farm, she dug the ground and struck something in it. She dug further and brought out a treasure box from the ground. She was surprised and wondered what must be inside of it. She quickly took it back home so nobody would see her and tried opening the box, but it was sealed properly. She used hammer and other objects to break it open, but all her efforts were fruitless. Olaedo decided to hide the box, but still kept trying to open it, hoping that one day she would succeed in breaking it open. That night, while she was sleeping, she had a dream where she carried the box with her and was going on a far journey. It was the box leading her, as she did not know where she was going to. But before she could complete the dream, she woke up. It was strange and scary, and she wondered what it meant. Meanwhile, Kosiso and Anozie, who had been married for some years now, were always having one problem or the other. Different villagers always came to settle disputes between them. Kosiso had given birth to 2 children now and had become so fat. Anozie would always complain about her new body size, but the villagers would tell him that childbirth changes people a lot, so he had to live with it. Anozie was a lazy man. He never worked. Instead, he took money from Kosiso and would usually abandon her and her children and go out to drink at the popular bar in the village. He would spend his entire day there and came back home drunk. He was a very irresponsible man, and Kosiso regretted ever getting married to him. Every single day, Olaedo kept trying to break open the treasure box in order to see what was in it. She believed it was something of great value, so she never told anyone about it. But she had still been having that strange dream since she got the box, and she began to wonder if that was the reason she couldn't open the box. It was then it occurred to her that the box had been leading her to the rightful owner in her dream. So that was the reason it was difficult to open. But if it isn't for me, what was it doing on my farm? She thought to herself. Olaedo had been ignoring her recent dreams of late, but it kept coming back, and this time in form of nightmares. She couldn't take it anymore, so she made up her mind to embark on the journey she took in her dream with the box. She set out early the next morning with no idea where she was going to, but just like in her dream, the box led her all through the journey. She was always exhausted and would rest from time to time. The box kept directing her till it was evening as she got to a small river. A journey which was meant to be a few hours took her the entire day to complete. She couldn't find anyone there at the river. She began to doubt that she was at the right location. She was there for more than an hour and was about going back home before a river goddess came out of the river. She was surprised to see the goddess, as she had never seen one before. The moment the river goddess set eyes on the box, she was so happy. She narrated to Olaedo that the box belonged to her family, that over a century ago, they were able to come out of the river and roam around on land. But there was a war and they went back to the river for safety. But before going back to the river, her family sealed the box and buried it in the ground, hoping to return one day to retrieve it. The box contained her family's heirloom, but they were cursed never to be able to come back to land anymore. So for over 100 years and many generations, the box had been buried in the ground, which now turned out to be Olaedo's farm. So when Olaedo retrieved the box from the ground, the river goddess and her family felt it and knew that someone had dug up the box. So they kept communicating to her through dreams to bring it to them, which she finally did. She handed the box over to the goddess, and to reward her, the goddess asked Olaedo what she could do for her in return. Olaedo, who had learnt her lesson and was now wiser, thought deeply and told the goddess that her current body type was not her original body. So she wanted to go back to how she was years ago. She also told the goddess that she wanted her farm business to flourish beyond expectations, and she wanted a man who would love her the way she was. The goddess told her that all her wish would come true. It was now very late, so Olaedo was asked to spend the night in an abandoned hut close to the river. She was tired from the day's stress, so she went in and slept off immediately, only to wake up in the morning with her old slim body. She was so happy. This was like a dream to her. She knew better and was never going to let anyone deceive her again the way Olaedo did. She tried calling on the river goddess to thank her, but there was no response, so she embarked on her journey back home. When she was close to the house, she was stopped by Olaedo, who was surprised to see her new look. He asked Olaedo to forgive him because he didn't know what came over him to choose her friend Kosiso over her. Olaedo just laughed at him and went about her day. She knew better now, and she was never going to let just anyone into her life anymore. Just as the river goddess had promised, Olaedo's farm began to grow and expand. She couldn't do it alone anymore, so she had to employ workers to assist her at her farm. The news of the new Olaedo spread all around the village, and Kosiso wished to go and apologize to her, but shame didn't let her. Olaedo eventually abandoned her and the children and lived his life in the beer parlor, drinking day and night. She was left to fend for herself and her children alone. The prince of the village, who went abroad to study years ago, completed his studies and finally came back home. He saw Olaedo and liked her instantly because she was very beautiful and hardworking. They became good friends and would always hang out. All the girls and women in the village envied her because they all wished they had the prince to themselves. He finally proposed to her and they got married and lived happily ever after. The lesson to be learned from this story is that it is usually those that we trust deeply that end up betraying us. Just like Kosiso and Anozie betrayed Olaedo, we should learn to be able to bounce back from such challenging situations, as it is not the end of us. Also, like Olaedo, we should learn to persevere and keep pushing forward till we achieve success. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and turn on your post notification to get notified when next I post a new video. Bye!